Club. We have our guest, who
Sorry.
I have known for a very long time and is one of the hardest working people I know when it comes to what is the most important part of our business, and that's lead generation and prospecting. So Dounia has been able to already this year clear six figures, and it's dominantly come from expired prospecting and just aggressive pursuit of people that have already raised their hands. So I'm excited to have this conversation because a lot of the times I'm hearing in this market, expireds don't work, or picking up the phone doesn't work anymore. People get flooded with spam calls, but we're going to talk about Dounia and how she has kind of doubled down on that and been able to find success in this market with low inventory. And her business is dominantly listings, and it's kind of ideal because of the activities that she's been doing. So, Dounia, you've been with me for you've been here for almost 8 years, 9 years with Keller Williams. So talk to us a little bit about you and your story and how you got into real estate.
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. And so I was buying a property when I was a housewife, and I met an agent at KW South Bay. And I was like, the process was not hard. I mean, he just opened the door, sat down, called the lender, and I was like, okay, I mean, this is something that looks very easy. And I was just my kids were in school. I didn't want to just be at home. I knew I wanted more. And I used to watch, I know it sounds so cliche, but I used to watch HGTV, and I thought I was going to be an interior designer. And then I realized what an interior designer, it takes to be an interior designer. It's not just like paint on the wall and, different color pillowcases. So I got into real estate that way as just kind of like a side thing. And then when I got divorced, I realized like, oh my gosh, I have to work, and I got to take this seriously now. So after that, I was trying to figure out what my niche was going to be, right? So I would door knock. I really didn't enjoy the activity. And I tried it. I mean, I tried it many times. I did open houses, and that's where my business came from in the beginning. But I didn't enjoy sitting at an open house for 4 hours, and I still don't. And then I realized, like, how am I going to get listings? Because I want to take listings. And then I just picked up the phone one day, and I had no idea what I was saying, what I was doing. I didn't believe in scripts, but I was landing appointments, and they weren't always the best appointments. But, through the process, I started learning how to, get really skilled at it, how to read the script, practice, chant. I role play still to this day 3 times a day. I used to write out the listing presentation for 30 days. I did everything to get really good because I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. I want to be a listing agent. And I didn't know how to get listings without spending a lot of money on farming or leads. So all I knew was like, pick up the phone, get really good at it, and I'm going to take a lot of listings that way. So that's basically how I got into cold calling.
Love it. Yeah, you know what? I hear you all the time, script practicing, role playing in your office, and I think that like one of the 6 personal perspectives we talk about and Gary talks about consistently is the the concept of self mastery. And learning that like you can't, you can learn so much by practicing it, but also practicing by doing. And I know that you have role play partners. I know that you have people that are coaching you on that. So like, talk to us about your like daily schedule. Like, what does it look like in a day in the life of Dounia?
So, I do wake up between 5 and 5:30, depending on what time I go to sleep. That's really important, priming myself in the morning for these kind of activities, because you definitely need to have a strong mindset. So taking the time for myself in the morning and get my mindset ready to have a powerful day is so important. Before, I used to just wake up, push the snooze button like 2 times before I would wake up, and then go directly into the shower, look at my emails, my text messages, probably go on social, get ready, and then go to the office. That used to be primarily in the beginning of my career. And then all of a sudden I started looking at habits of other top producers, successful people. And that's not what they were doing. They were waking up between 5:30, or actually 4. I was waking up at 4:30. It wasn't for me. So I realized like my space was between 5 and 5:30. When I wake up, I learned not to look at my phone for the first 30 minutes. I mean, that for me is very sacred. I get up, I go, wash my face, brush my teeth, put on my athletic gear, go downstairs, have my, my supplements, and then I have a gratitude book, and I write 5 gratitudes and 5 affirmations, and I take 5 minutes for a 5-minute meditation that I go on YouTube. I just pick a YouTube meditation, go and just really sit there for myself for 5 minutes and visualize what I want my life to look like, my day to look like. Like I haven't mastered the 10 minutes yet, so it's a little bit at a time. So I'm at the 5-minute mark right now. And then I go to the gym, and depending on the week that I have my kids, I usually go to the gym in the morning. And then by 7 a.m., I'm calling the first round of expireds. I know that's crazy, guys, but I do it. And it's something that, that is in my schedule. So I call from 7 to 7:30, and it's usually like a handful. So I'm done by 7:30, and then I'm role playing from 7:30 to 8. And then from 8 to 11, I'm prospecting.
Okay, I gotcha. So I didn't even know that you, I saw that Gigi, your daughter, was doing some affirmations and gratitude journaling.
You got to teach them at a young age. I wish my family or my parents taught me about affirmations and gratitudes and meditation.
No, I think that's amazing. And, you keep an energy going. I think that, well, myself too, being a prospector and building my business through home prospecting, like, how do you deal with burnout? How do you deal with, staying in the right mindset and being okay with you just being bored doing it? I mean, how do you handle that?
Repetitious boredom, you got to get used to it, and you got to love it, and just know that is part of the game. You're not going to always get an appointment. I mean, there was one time where I was doing these, straining activity from like 7 to 8, 9 o'clock. I wasn't going home. I mean, I was prospecting from 7 to like 12. Then I would take a mindset break and then start over from 4 to 8, and I still kind of do that right now. I prospect twice a day. I prospect from basically like 7 to 11, and then from 4 to 7. So if I don't have an appointment, or I have nowhere to be, that's not money producing activity, I'm prospecting. I'm setting appointments because I'm setting up myself for the future, right? So know that you're probably not going to get an appointment today. I don't get an appointment every day, and you're probably not going to get an appointment for the first week or 2, but it's okay. Just know that it's a numbers game. I mean, it's not like every person that's going to walk through your open house is going to, close a deal with you. The more people you talk to, the closer that you are to your next opportunity. So that's what I keep telling myself. Like, it's okay. I mean, there's been weeks where I didn't get an appointment towards the end of the year. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what am I doing wrong? But it's not that I was doing it. It wasn't me. I was doing the activity, and then it all showed up in the first quarter, second quarter of this year. So what I do for when I have a mindset break. So I prospect for 50 minutes at a time. So I'm not prospecting for 3-4 hours straight. I prospect for 50 minutes. And then there's a science behind it, right? If I'm not getting 10 contacts per hour, I'm switching it up. I'm switching up my phone numbers. So I have burner phone numbers that I use to prospect, because you get spammed. I use a 3-line dialer. And if I'm not within the first 10 minutes, if I'm not picking up 2 to 3 calls, live calls, I'm stopping my activity. I'm switching up the number, or I'm switching up my list, because I know that I'm supposed to be talking to 10 people per hour. And that's basically 60 contacts. So take 50 minutes, do that activity, stop for 10, 15, I'll get up, go to the restroom. I'll play YouTube. I play a lot of sound bowls, because it's like a meditation. It helps me with my energy, helps relax me, de-stress me. I'll look at social media, but I'm always listening to positive stuff. My social media feed is not, it's like fitness, it's motivational stuff. It's, it's something that's going to uplift me, and I'll take 10-15 minutes to do that. And then I'll get back on it. I'll get excited. I'll look at my goals. I have my goals everywhere. So I'll get excited and I'll call the next because I need an appointment.
Yeah, when what you're saying is and in the chat we'll get to some of the questions in just a sec. So, what you're saying, like when you look at moving from like E to P, right? Gary talks about usually you'll do something for like 1 month, 2 months, and typically what you see, someone starts to make the phone calls and maybe their scripting isn't perfect, or maybe they're not getting any results, but they usually will go, they'll start the phone calls and then they pivot and they start, okay, this doesn't work, I'm going to go do something else. Before you know it, a full year has gone by in the industry, right? And they've done open houses, they've done door knocking, they've hit the phones, they've worked their sphere, and they have nothing because the consistency isn't there, right? Like the repetitious boredom is not there. And what I see with you too is like your results, and like you could elaborate on this, is like as you make these phone calls, typically like you're like the 90-day lag is so true, right? Like
so true.
you getting into it, and it can be something like such a domino effect of like you getting into your routine and doing your meditation and doing your workouts and just having like the foundational habits that then allow you to be able to even be in the headspace to lead generate, I think is so important.
You got to take care of you first so you can pour onto the world. Because if you don't, if you wake up and all you're thinking about is your problems and like, oh my gosh, I don't have a deal. I don't, have an appointment today. I mean, what space do you think you're going to be in? You're living in anxiety. I don't think about that. All I think about is what can I control today? And it's the activity that I can control is what really propels me to keep going through the day.
Yeah, I had a conversation yesterday with the agent that I'm coaching, and I call it the this cycle. And in this business, there's always a this. Like there's always oh, well, it's 4th of July week, it's going to be slow. Well, there's this that I got to get to. Well, there's this that's going to come up. There's always a this. Like doesn't matter what part of the year. It's even worse in the holiday season, right? When we get into like Thanksgiving and then the mindset shifts and all that stuff. But like with the this, like I even heard, you're in the process now of, which I'm excited for you, of hiring your first assistant, right? And starting to get leverage. So like
my first right assistant, the right way.
Right. That's right. We've hired before and it's been the wrong person. So luckily I've met her and I think she's going to absolutely kill it with you, and get you the leverage. So to kind of pivot, like for someone who wants to start prospecting, right? And everybody should be prospecting that's on this call. Everyone, especially right now.
Every day should be non-negotiable.
Every day and it has to be something that you can track. So like talk to us. A 2-part question is like, what is your setup? Like if you're open to sharing like what systems you use, how you get your phone numbers, and also what system you use, how you get your phone numbers. And there was a 2-part question I was going to ask you. What your metrics are, like what do you focus on hitting every day in terms of like contact standards and all that?
Yeah. So before, last year, before the market shifted, I used to think 20 to 25 contacts was okay. I mean, they were. It's just not the case anymore. If you think you're going to speak to 20 people a day and it might work for you, but a lot of people that I know, that's not the minimum standard anymore. You got to do double. You got to talk to double the people to get even the same results that you got last year. So now, I mean, mine is 60, and because it's controllable, right? I know 10 contacts per hour is achievable for me. So I prospect 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the evening. I get my 60. That is, the minimum standard for myself. Do I achieve that all the time? Like yesterday, I hit 42. So I don't all the time, but I always make it up. So I'm like, okay, I look at the end of the week. Hold on, I'm actually gonna show you. I actually have it right here. So what I do is I have a month. This is my June. So I have my monthly business plan. So I have my business plan, but at the end of the month, I always write a monthly business plan of contacts, numbers, hours, and how many days out of the month I'm gonna work. After that, I break it down into weekly, tracking it weekly. How many contacts do I want to have? So I break it down so I can stay on track. So on Sunday, when I'm looking at my numbers, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm 4 hours behind prospecting. I'm, 80 contacts down. I didn't hit them because of, things happen, appointments or this or that. And so then that way you could stay on track of hitting your, quarterly goals and then your yearly goals. So I definitely make it a standard of hitting 60 because it's achievable. You could talk to 10 people. You could talk to 10 people per hour for me because I have the system for that, So somebody who doesn't have the system for that, I'm sure, 50, it should be a non-negotiable, because I hear other top producing agents that were starting off their career and now are crushing it and making millions. They were like, their number was 50. Everybody's number that I would hear was minimum 50 people a day. If you don't have an appointment, you shouldn't be doing busy work. Shouldn't be sitting here thinking that, let me send this email or let me do this or let me do that, because you're thinking that you're doing busy work, but it's not money producing activity. My non-negotiable is the money producing activity. That's why everything else has never gotten off the ground. And I need an assistant to do that, because all I focus on, I have tunnel vision, and it's my money producing time. That's a non-negotiable.
Yeah, I hear all the time too. It's like, oh, what are you working on? I'm working on my marketing. I'm working on my brand. I'm working on this. I'm like, who are you marketing to? Honestly, like, who is it that we're marketing to? Like,
Are you always preparing?
Preparing. And I understand that, by the way. You got some love from Mary there, mic drop. But I just think that unless you have a database of, 1,000 people, whatever your core is, like, you should start there 100% with the people that trust you and get a good 33 touch. But like, once that's running, like Gary talks about it, is like feeding your database every single day. And with what you're doing with the contact standard is like 60 contacts is like, what is a typical result? I know you have days where there's nothing, right? But like, what is a typical, like, what comes from 60
contacts? So what is
contacts?
a win for me? Okay, let's just say, of course, a win would be an appointment, right? But I used to look for that orgasmic seller, that's somebody that wanted to list with me right now. That was in the beginning when I was first doing this, because I didn't realize the power of getting leads to put in my database today for tomorrow, right? Because all I was thinking about, somebody needs to tell me yes today because I need a listing and I need to go to an appointment. So my follow-up game wasn't that good. And then I realized, like, oh my God, a win is getting 3 people that are saying, maybe call me in a month, maybe call me in a week, because then you follow up with those folks and those folks become your listing appointments. And then the caveat would be, the cherry on the topping would be getting a listing appointment that day. So for me, I'm looking for somebody that's like, yeah, I am, why don't you call me in a week or two, and then I try to set up that appointment for that, week or two. And if I can't, so I'm getting contacts in my database. I have 1,800 right now, and I need her to clean it up. But, and I know I got a lot of business in there that I haven't even utilized. That's why I was like, okay, it's time. It's time for somebody to do that work so I can focus on my appointments. But yeah, I mean, just think about, I need to feed my database daily. And how are you going to feed your data? You should, be at least putting 3 people in your database daily, because you wake up every day unemployed. You got to remember that, every day we wake up, we're unemployed. And unless you have a big team, a big system where leads are coming in and you're funneling through and you don't have to do that work yet, because I don't plan on doing this forever. This is what's going to get me off the ground, to give me the leverage, and the money is the tool that we need to do. And you need to do the activity to get that tool. So you got to do something to, keep yourself afloat so you can get to the next level and find the activity, whether it's door knocking. If you love door knocking, you should 10x that. You should be doing that for 4 hours. If you love open houses, you should be doing open houses 4 days a week. Don't just wait on the weekend. You could be calling your past clients at open houses. Like, find what's good, what you're good at, and stick with it for at least 90 days and see if you even like that. Do that activity for 90 days before you get squirrel brain and go somewhere else because something else looks shinier and somebody else is doing it better.
Yeah, I love that. One thing you said the other day to me was like, you told me that the listing appointment starts like right after the call.
Oh,
right?
the listing presentation starts at the pre-qual, when you're pre-qualing.
Pre-qual.
Yeah.
So you have a super high conversion rate when you get to the appointment, right? With these expireds. So like, what is it that you're doing to pre-qualify the sellers? Just a few things. And also what's happening right after the phone call that you're doing to try to, win them over?
So in the beginning, I would be so scared because I didn't know, so I was so scared to pre-qual because I didn't want to ask the questions because I didn't want them to say no. And then in my mind, it wasn't a real appointment, right? So I would get the appointment, drive like an hour, and then realize it was really never a motivated or a real appointment. So then I was like, what am I doing wrong? And then once I started getting role play partners, and then I got a coach, then I started realizing like, no, the listing appointment starts at the pre-qual. The minute they say yes and you have a date and a time to go meet them, then you start asking the pre-qualification questions. And it was really hard for me to ask in the beginning. If what I say makes sense, and let's just say you feel comfortable and confident, I can help you get the job done. Are you going to be in a position to hire me today? I would never want to ask that because I didn't want them to say no. But that is like, if I don't, that is a question that is non-negotiable for me in my pre-qual, because then I'm going to know. They're going to tell me either yes or no, and then you can dig deeper, right? So yeah, there's a list of pre-qual questions that I ask. And then once I realize it's a motivated seller that's going to list with me today, or he's going to list in 3 months, I mean, then you make a decision. Do I want to go build the report today, or do I want to get a little closer to that time or whatever? But right when I hang up and I find out it's a listing appointment, then I do my pre-listing packet and I overnight it. If it's not delivered by one of my assistants or my showing assistants that I used to have, I go to FedEx and I overnight it. Actually not FedEx, there's a place, Postal Annex right here, off of Western. They overnight it for me for $14. I have a book. It's nice. It's presented to them. That is when your listing presentation starts. Is all that the pre-qual, sending the pre-listing. That's a professional. I want to make sure that I am perceived that way. And this is not a game. This is not a joke, that I am coming there to take a listing. So then I send my pre-qual. I do my pre-qual, send my pre-listing packet, call the next day, confirm, make sure that time still works for them because I'm not driving anywhere until I'm there. And then when I go there, of course, I'm not walking out until I get the listing.
Ask them 4 times.
Yeah.
I think you've kind of over trial and error, you've built this listing system out, and I think it's important for people to know too, like you kind of have to just start doing the activity and start to realize what works. And like for me on the phone, it was like, what do I say to just keep people talking to me and not get hung up on? Which scripting helped, right? But a lot of the times, in the first 5 to 10 seconds whether or not that phone call is going to be something that's worth it, right?
Yeah.
In most cases.
So it's funny because last year, towards the end of last year, is really when I got very surgical with my script, because practicing once a day is not enough. Like I don't. You cannot practice one time a day for 15 minutes or 30 minutes and think that you're going to become a pro at scripting. You literally have to practice your craft at least 3 times a day. And I'm good at what I do, and I still practice 3 times a day. And the reason for, now it's not like I know the script. Now it's like objections, listing presentation, it's different type of scripting, like fire objections being thrown at me. So I can stay sharp, because when you don't prospect and you don't talk to people, you get cobwebs. I don't care how long you've been doing this. I used to go to family reunion, like back in the day. It's like 2016, 2015. And I remember Diana Kokoska, she used to talk about how important scripting was. And it just didn't feel natural to me. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I was just so against scripting. And then I realized how important your intro. I didn't realize how important your intro is, because if your intro is not strong or captivating or compelling for them to stay on the phone with you, they're going to hang up, and you're going to get a bunch of hangups. So then I realized my intro was like ring, ring. I mirror and match, right? So I learned the science of it. It's not just, you got to listen to them. If they say yep, you say yep, because they like to do business with people that relate to them. So you say, yep, hi, is this Zach? So if they say yep, I say yep. If they say hi, I say hi. If they say hello, I say hello. So I mirror and match, and then I make it sound like I know them. So I don't sound like a telemarketer, you know? So I'm like, hi, this is Zach. I'm like, hi, this is Dounia. And I pause. I realize the pause. They're like, Dounia, who's Dounia? Dounia Zamora. And then I say, and then I go into, I'm calling you about 123 Main Street. I don't say your property got expired. And then they're like, yeah, what about it? Then I go into it. So I realized there was a science. There's like an intro part, the second, yeah.
Yeah,
So scripting.
it's critical because they write you off if you don't, right?
Oh
They write
yeah,
you
they're
off.
gonna hang up on you, and you're
Hang
gonna be
up.
like, oh, I'm not doing it right. No, you're not, because you're not practicing your scripts, and you've got to realize that those dots on the script are there for a reason. Those are pauses.
Good point. So a couple of people are repeating the same question in the chat, like what systems are you using to call people and track?
Okay, so the tracking, I forced myself to be analytical because I am a high D and a high I. So I created like a document that works for me for a month. So I have my monthly business plan. I geek out and I look at it, and then I have a coaching. So I have a numbers analyzer, but then I have, so you guys, this is my daily, this is yesterday's. So this is my daily tracking. So I write 100 here, and then these are my notes. So and then once I go through this through the day, then I go into my tracking system online, my analyzer. And if you don't have an analyzer, this is it, and then you track your numbers that way. So you know how many people you're talking to daily. And you know how many people you're talking to weekly, and then you know how many people you're talking to monthly. Because how are you going to know your conversion rate if you don't know your numbers? So if you don't have a numbers analyzer and a coach, you create a piece of sheet with 100, numbers, and as you're talking to somebody, X amount, so you know how many people you're talking to.
Yeah, one of the questions was like about burner numbers. Are you using like Google Voice numbers?
No. So I have Vulcan 7. I went through a lot. Espresso. I went to Land Voice. I went to Red X, My Plus Leads. I realized for me, Vulcan 7, it is pricier, but it's business. I mean, you're about to get a $20,000 commission check paying $300 a month. You know what I mean? So it's a no-brainer. So you can, so what I do is I have Vulcan 7. I have a Mojo 3-line dialer because you cannot talk to 10 people hand dialing on one line or calling on one line. So I use 3 lines. And I actually want to up it to 6 lines because I know people up it to 6 lines. I know people who have 6 lines, but I do 3 lines and I'm talking to 10 people. So Vulcan 7, Mojo, and for my burner, I have an app called, it is called, what is it called? Oh, it's called Burner.
Called Burner?
Yeah, it's called Burner. It's a little green like thing. Okay. It's called Burner. You can go to the App Store, you download it, and it's like $11.99. They give you credits, but I keep those numbers in my Mojo because they recycle every 30 days. So I have, if I'm on the phone and I'm not getting picked up on in the first 5 to 6 minutes, I'm changing that phone number because I'm not wasting my time. And I used to hand dial in the beginning, and then I graduated into a 1-line dialer, and then I graduated into the big girl game. And I was like, okay, now I'm really gonna graduate to university and I'm gonna get 6-line dialers.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you made. These is like, if you are going to set up any system, like whether it's door knocking or whether it's open house or cold calling, like you have to be okay with spending a little bit of money to get your system and your approach dialed in. Like us was Mojo, and we were paying for a data provider that was the most expensive out there, but we're like, we pay 25 or 20 cents a record, so every 1,000 people we're spending $200. It's not that much, right? 5,000 people, and the opportunity is like, so people are like, well, I'm not spending that. I don't have the money to spend that. Well, any business is going to require some expenditure for success, no matter how you look at it. It's cost of doing business, and you like with hiring this new assistant, like you're increasing your cost, but what's the return?
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, what's the return going to be? 10x, 20x,
for
right? So
sure.
like holding the dollars accountable on what you're spending. But like, if you're in this business and you're not spending any money, like lowest cost I can think of is, command ads and Facebook advertising, things like that, just to get started, but an open house because it doesn't cost much. But you have to be cool with getting at least spending enough to get your approach set up.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah, I mean, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like I get it. You want to lead with revenue if you have no money, right? So then you're like, okay, where do I, if you want to go after listings like I do, I would go after for sale by owners. That's free. You can pull up a list on Zillow, go door knock them. Go, if you don't have the access to get phone numbers, you can go to people search. Go look up the area, the neighborhood in your farm or in your area that you want to go after expireds. Look up all the expires in the last year. Print out that list and do it old school. Go to people search, get those phone numbers, call them. That's free, or go door knock them. Because now that's what I'm actually doing. I'm implementing in my business now is I'm calling them, and the ones that I want, I'm going to door knock them. And I just created a whole campaign with postcards that I'm like, video postcards that I'm going to be door knocking them with and leaving on their door so they could see me, not just my picture, but they're going to get a video from me on the postcard on their door.
Yeah, building mind share. So we went a little bit over. DZ, thanks so much for being on. Is there anybody that has any last questions, any ahas, anything that they took away from this they want to share? Anybody in the chat? Ileana says, thank you. Thank you guys for being on. And if there's no questions or comments, then we're let DZ get back to. Oh, sure.
Yeah. I was just wondering if for the for sale by owners, do you have them sign a buyer's representation agreement, or are you more comfortable just helping them as you see them?
Buyers, I don't really work with for sale by owner buyers. I that's not a place that I've gone to yet because I mostly work listings. So I don't know.
So how do you work with the for sale by owners? What do you do with them exactly?
Oh no, I mostly go after expireds.
Okay.
Expired
So okay.
Yeah, I haven't really converted. I haven't really took time to call for sale buyers because there's more expireds to call.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Take care. Happy 4th of July.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thank you.